Welcome everybody, my name is Brendan Snyder, thank you for joining me. If you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, I'm attempting to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers, and if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. So, it's been 26 long years since Cinderella has put out new material, going all the way back to 1994 in the Still Climbing album. And a lot of people are always asking, when will we get new Cinderella? Are they going to reunite and that sort of stuff? But for all intents and purposes, everything that I hear from Tom Keifer is that there are no plans to reunite Cinderella. And he's steadfastly against replacing members, so at this point he is choosing to focus on his solo career. And so I'd like to take a moment and look at his two solo albums that he released, as these might not have gotten the proper attention that they deserve, since they do not come with the Cinderella title to them. But since Tom Keifer is the voice, the guitar player, the songwriter, I really feel that the sound lies with him and that he is Cinderella. And so I'm going to take that approach on this and do a quick review of those albums compared against the Cinderella time, to hopefully shine a light on that solo material. And so if you're looking for new Cinderella material, it would be looking towards his solo releases for that. And so after forming Cinderella in 1982 and leading them to international success starting in 1986 with Night Songs, he went on to lead them to two more really successful albums, Long Cold Winter and Heartbreak Station, all the way up through 1990, and then continuing on with 1994's Still Climbing, the last new material from Cinderella. And as I said, 26 long years since then, they've just been predominantly a touring act at this point, with their last live performance being back in 2013 aboard a Monsters of Rock cruise. And so, as I said, Tom Keifer has said there's no plans to reunite Cinderella at this point, which just leaves his solo band to focus on. And Tom was always the predominant songwriter in the band, with the occasional co-write from another member, but his voice, him being the lead guitar player, the keyboardist, I believe that the sound of Cinderella firmly lies with Tom. And he said the idea for a solo record goes all the way back to the mid-90s, when they first left Universal Records, the label that Cinderella was on. And so he kept stockpiling songs over the years, all the way up until 2003, when he first went into the recording studio to begin recording. But the album itself intentionally took over a decade to complete, with the debut solo album, The Way Life Goes, coming out in 2013. And this album here, the opener on it, Solid Ground, is just a classic Cinderella rocker that kicks things off, which is really amazing. If you just give that one song a listen, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there's some other really great standout songs on this album. It's Not Enough, Cold Day in Hell, and Mood Elevator, just to name a few. There's 9 rockers and 5 ballads on it, so 14 total tracks, which is a really great, strong number of songs on the album. I think it has really amazing production on it, far more so than most bands these days have. This is like the early Cinderella sound on it, with things being layered and produced to a really high level and mixed with a really good sounding quality on it. My only complaint is that the first ballad on the album is track number 2, and I think it breaks the flow here. And so that part of it has always really irked me a little bit, in that I wish that the first ballad had come a little bit later on it. Otherwise, I would say the album is near perfect. Tom would go on to promote this debut album for the next 5 years, which is really great, being that he would do this on the road and through multimedia, meaning a lot of artists put out an album and after a few months you don't really hear much about it, but he solidly promoted it on tours, going on shows and performing live through interviews and all of that, including releasing videos for the next 5 years before doing the follow-up. And it's just great to see an artist doing that and not letting new material slide simply because the public isn't clamoring for it. The follow-up album, which came out in 2019, 6 long years after the debut, but really, really worth it, called Rise, is just a really strong album as well. And so this album here, both in my opinion, have the classic core Cinderella sound to them. The opening tracks on it, the first two are just a 1-2 punch on it, Touching the Divine and The Death of Me, two of the really strongest open rockers that I've heard in a really long time. And the third track on here is a ballad, but this one works far better than the way the first album did. In this one, it builds and builds and builds to become a slow rocker on here, and so I can appreciate it being at track number 2 in this case. One of the best tracks on here is the second ballad and title track, the song Rise. This one is stunningly sung with so much emotion on it, and it's just outstanding in terms of songwriting for Tom Keifer. I think it's one of the best things he's ever written. It's just a really, really beautiful message on here as well. The album itself contains 11 tracks with 7 rockers and 4 ballads. And as a whole, I like this album, I think, better than the debut. I think the band is really gelled. It sounds more like a band effort, and it's just a much stronger, more solid feeling album than the first one, which has a little bit more feel of the individuality of each track, probably because he was recording and collecting those over the 10 years prior, whereas this one here was written as all one thing for this album. And as a whole, I think the flow of the songs are just better on this. So bottom line, I think if you've been waiting for a new Cinderella record, or you want something that's Cinderella sounding, these two albums are for you. His solo work is every bit as much as Cinderella ever was. As I said, give a listen to the song Solid Ground off the first album, or the song Rise, Touching the Divine, or The Death of Me off the second album, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Sure, the material is more modern and much more mature, but it shows where the growth of Cinderella would have gone if they had stayed a recording band throughout the years, where they might have ended up as. But you still get Tom's beautiful raspy voice, and you get his blues rock guitar playing on these. And I sort of think, you know, between the voice with the guitar and the songwriting style, you know, what more could you want? It is classic Cinderella, in my opinion. All right, I hope you enjoyed this review of Tom's 2 solo records in comparison to the Cinderella material. Please leave your comments, let me know your thoughts, and subscribe to my channel if you will. I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.